Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bedtime Stories. My name is Tracy and I'm your host, and we are reading the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, and we are on the Miller's Tale. And the Miller is quite drunk, and this story is quite bawdy, so this is not for children. But you should still make sure you've got your water and you've gone pee in the potty and you've brushed your teeth and you're all tucked in, all comfy cozy and ready to listen to this. Anyway, he's spicy. Anyway, so we're continuing the Miller's Tale. I stopped at just a stop, and we're gonna just continue on from where I stopped the last time. The boy went up and pounded, and yelled as if his wits had been confounded. What? How? What's doing, Master Nicholas? How can you sleep all day? But all his fuss was wasted, for he could not hear a word. He noticed at the bottom of a board a hole the cat used when she wished to creep into the room, and though it looked in deep, and finally of Nicholas caught sight. This Nicholas sat gaping there upright, as though his wits were addled by the moon. When it was new, the boy went down, and soon had told his master how he had seen the man. The carpenter, when he heard this news, began to cross himself. Help us, St. Fride's-wide! Little can we foresee what may betide. The man's astronomy has turned his wit, or else he's in some agonizing fit. I always knew that it would turn out so. What God has hidden is not for men to know. Ay, blessed is the ignorant man indeed, blessed is he that only knows his creed. So fared another scholar of the sky, for walking in the meadows once to spy upon the stars, and what they might foretell. Down in a clay pit suddenly he fell. He overlooked that by St. Thomas by St. Thomas, though. I'm sorry for handy Nicholas, I'll go and scold him roundly for his studying. If so I may, by Jesus, heaven's King, give me a staff, I'll pry up from the floor, while you, Robin, are heaving at the door. He'll quit his books, I think. He took his stand outside the room. The boy had a strong hand, and by the hasp heaved off the door at once. The door fell flat, with gaping countenance. Thus this Nicholas sat studying the air, as still as stone. He was in black despair. The carpenter believed, and hard about the shoulders caught, and shook him, and cried out rudely, What, how, what is it? Look down at us. Wake up, think of Christ's passion, Nicholas. I'll sign you with the cross to keep away these elves and things. And he began to say, facing the quarters of the house each side, and on the threshold of the door outside, the night spell, Jesu and Saint Benedict. From every wicked thing this house protect. Choosing his time, this handy Nicholas produced a dreadful sigh, and said, Alas, this world must be all destroyed straight away. What? Asked the carpenter. What's that you say? Do as we do, we working men, and think of God? Nicholas answered, Get me a drink, and afterwards I'll tell you privately of something that concerns us, you and me. I'll tell you only, you among all men. This carpenter went down and came again, bearing a draught of strong ale, a full quart, as soon as each of them had drunk his part. Nicholas shut the door and made it fast, and sat down by the carpenter at last, and spoke to him. My host, he said, John dear, swear now by all that you hold sacred here, that not to any man will you betray my confidence. What I'm about to say is Christ's own secret. If you tell a soul, you are undone, and this will be the toll. If you betray me, you shall go stark mad. Now Christ forbid it by his holy blood, answered this simple man. I won't go blabbing. No, though I say it myself, I don't like gabbing. Speak up just as you like. I'll never tell, not wife nor child, by him that harrowed hell. Now, John, said Nicholas, this is no lie. I have discovered through astrology and studying the moon that shines so bright, that Monday next, a quarter through the night, a rain will fall, and such a mad, wild spate that Noah's flood was never half so great. This world, he said, in less time than an hour, shall drown entirely in that hideous shower. Yes, every man shall drown and lose his life. Alas, the carpenter answered, for my wife. Alas, my Alison, and shall she drown? For grief at this he nearly tumbled down, and said, but is there nothing to be done? Why, happily there is, for anyone who'll take advice. This handy Nicholas said, you mustn't expect to follow your own head. For what said Solomon, whose words were true? Proceed by counsel, and you'll never rue. If you will act on good advice, no fail, I'll promise, and without a mast or sail, to see that she's preserved, and you and I. Haven't you heard how Noah was kept dry? When warned by Christ beforehand, he discovered that the whole earth with water should be covered. Yes, said the carpenter, long, long ago. And then again, said Nicholas, don't you know? The grief they all had trying to embark till Noah could get his wife into the ark. That was a time when Noah, I dare say, would gladly have given his best black wethers away, if she could only have had a ship alone. And therefore, do you know what must be done? This demands haste, and with a hasty thing, people can't stop for talk and tarrying. Start out and get into the house right off, for each of us a tub or kneading trough, above all making sure that they are large, in which will float away as in a barge, and put in food enough to last a day. Beyond won't matter, the flood will fall away early next morning. Take care not to spill a word to your boy Robin, nor to Jill, your maid. I cannot save her, don't ask why. I will not tell God's secrets, no, not I. Let it suffice, unless your wits are mad, to have as good a grace as Noah had. I'll save your wife for certain, never doubt it. Now go along and make good time about it. But when you have, for her and you and me, brought to the house these kneading tubs, all three, then you must hang them under the roof up high to keep our plans from any watchful eye. When you have done exactly as I've said, and put in snug our victuals and our bread, also an axe to cut the ropes apart, so when the rain comes, we can make our start. And when you've broken a hole high in the gable, facing the garden plot above the stable, to give us a free passage out, each one, then soon as the great fall of rain is done, you'll swim as merrily, I undertake, as paddles the white duck behind her drake. And then I shall call, how Alison, how John, be cheerful, for the flood will soon be gone. And Master Nicholas, what ho, you'll say. Good morning, I see you clearly, for it's day. Then we shall lord it for the rest of our life over the world, like Noah and his wife. But one thing I must warn you of downright, use every care that on that self-same night, when we have taken ship and climbed aboard, no one of us must speak a single word, nor call nor cry, but pray with all his heart. It is God's will. You must hang far apart, you and your wife, for there must be no sin between you, no more in a look than in the very deed. Go now, the plans are drawn. Go set to work, and may God spur you on. Tomorrow night, when all men are asleep, into our kneading troughs we three shall creep, and sit there waiting and abide God's grace. Go along now. This isn't the time or place for me to talk at length or sermonize. The proverb says, don't waste words on the wise. You are so wise that there is no need to teach you. Go, save our lives. That's all that I beseech you. This simple carpenter went on his way. Many a time he said, alack the day. And to his wife he laid the secret bare. She knew it better than he. She was aware what this quaint bargain was designed to buy. She carried on as if about to die, and said, alas, go get this business done. Help us escape, or we are dead, each one. I am your true, your faithful wedded wife. Go, my dear husband, save us, limb and life. Great things in all truth can the emotions be. A man can perish through credulity. So deep the print imagination makes, This simple carpenter, he quails and quakes. He really sees, according to his notion, Noah's flood come wallowing like an ocean, to drown his Allison, his pet, his dear. He weeps and wails, and gone is his good cheer, and wretchedly he sighs, but he goes off and gets himself a tub, a kneading trough, another tub, and has them on the sly sent home, and there in secret hangs them high. Beneath the roof he made 3 ladders, these, with his own hands, and stowed in bread and cheese, a jug of good ale, plenty for a day. Before all this was done, he sent away his chore boy Robin, and his wench likewise, to London on some trumped-up enterprise. And so on Monday, when it drew toward night, he shut the door without a candle light, and saw that all was just as it should be, and shortly they went clambering up, all 3. They sat there still, and let a moment pass. Now then, our father, mum, said Nicholas. And mum, said John, and mum, said Allison. And piously this carpenter went on, saying his prayers. He sat there still and straining, trying to make out whether he heard it raining. The dead of sleep, for very weariness, fell on this carpenter, as I should guess, at about curfew time, or little more. His head was twisted, and that made him snore. His spirit groaned in its uneasiness. Down from his ladder slipped this Nicholas. And Allison, too, downward she softly sped, and without further word they went to bed, right where the carpenter slept on other nights. There were the revels, there were the delights. And so this Allison and Nicholas lay, busy about their solace and their play, until the bell for lauds began to ring, and in the chancel friars began to sing. Now on this Monday, woe begone and glum, for love, this parish clerk, this Absalom, was with some friends at Osony, and while there inquired after John the carpenter, a member of the cloister drew him away out of the church and told him, I can't say. I haven't seen him working hereabouts since Saturday. The abbot sent him out. For timber, I suppose, he'll often go and stay at the granary a day or so, or else he's at his house possibly. I can't for certain say where he may be. Absalom all at once felt jolly and light, and thought time now to be awake all night. For certainly I haven't seen him making a stir about his door since day was breaking. Don't call me a man if when I hear the cock begin to crow I don't slip up and knock on the low window by his bedroom wall. To Allison at last I'll pour out all my love pangs, for at this point I can't miss, whatever happens, at the least a kiss. Some comfort by my word will come my way. I've felt my mouth itch the whole livelong day, and that's a sign of kissing at the least. I dreamed all night that I was at a feast. So now I'll go and sleep an hour or two, and then I'll wake and play the whole night through. When the first cockcrow through the dark had come, up rose this jolly lover Absalom, and dressed up smartly he was not remiss about the least point. He chewed licorice and cardamom to smell sweet. Even before he combed his hair, beneath his tongue he bore a spring of Paris like a true love knot. He strolled off to the carpenter's house and got. Beneath the window it came so near the ground, it reached his chest, softly with half a sound. He coughed, my honeycomb, sweet Allison. What are you doing, my sweet cinnamon? Awake, my sweetheart and my pretty bird. Awake and give me from your lips a word. Little enough you care for all my woe. How for your love I sweat wherever I go. No wonder I sweat and faint and cannot eat more than a girl as a lamb does for the teat. I pine, yes, truly, I so long for love. I mourn as if I were a turtle dove. Said she, you jack fool, get away from here. So help me God, I won't sing kiss me, dear. I love another more than you. Get on, for Christ's sake, Absalom, or I'll throw a stone. The devil with you. Go and let me sleep. Ah, that true love should ever have to reap so evil a fortune, Absalom said. A kiss, at least, if it can be no more than this. Give me for love of Jesus and of me. And will you go away for that? Said she. Yes, truly, sweetheart, answered Absalom. Get ready then, she said, for here I come, and softly said to Nicholas, keep still, and in a minute you can laugh your fill. This Absalom got down upon his knee and said, I am a lord of pure degree, for after this I hope comes more to savor. Sweetheart, your grace, a pretty bird, your favor. She undid the window quickly. That will do, she said. Be quick about it and get through, for fear the neighbors will look out and spy. Absalom wiped his mouth on to make it dry. The night was pitch dark, coal black all about. Her rear end through the window she thrust out. It fared no better or worse with Absalom than with his mouth to kiss her naked bum. Before he had caught on a smacking kiss, he jumped back, thinking something was amiss. A woman has no beard, he was well aware, but what he felt was rough and had long hair. Alas, he cried, what have you made me do? Tee-hee, she said, and banged the window to. Absalom backed away a sorry pace. You've bearded him, said Handy Nicholas. God's body, this is going fair and fit. This luckless Absalom heard every bit, and gnawed his mouth so angry he became. He said to himself, I'll square you all the same. But who now scrubs and rubs, who chafes his lips, with dust, with sand, with straw, with cloth and chips, if not this Absalom, the devil, says he. Welcome my soul, if I wouldn't rather be revenged than have the whole town in a sack. Alas, he cries, if only I'd held back. His hot love had become all cold and ashen. He didn't have a curse to spare for passion. The moment when he kissed her on the ass, that was the cure to make his sickness pass. He cried as a child does after being whipped. He railed at love, and quietly he slipped across the street to a smith who was forging out parts that the farmers needed round about. He was busy sharpening coulter and plowshare when Absalom knocked as though without a care. Undo the door, Jervis, and let me come. What? Who are you? It is I, Absalom. Absalom, is it? By Christ's precious tree. Why are you up so early? Lord, bless me. What's ailing you? Some gay girl has the power to bring you out, God knows, at such an hour. Yes, by Saint Nyot, you know well what I mean. Absalom thought his jokes not worth a bean. Without a word, he let them all go by. He had another kind of fish to fry. Then Jervis guessed. Lend me this coulter here. That's hot in the chimney, friend, he said. Don't fear. I'll bring it right back off when I am through. I need it for a job I have to do. Of course, said Jervis. Why, if it were gold or coins in a sack, uncounted and untold, as I'm a rightful smith, I wouldn't refuse it. But Christ's foot, how on earth do you mean to use it? Let that, said Absalom, be as it may. I'll let you know tomorrow or next day. And took the coulter where the steel was cold, and slipped out with it safely in his hold. And softly over to the carpenter's wall he coughed, and then rapped the window all, as he had done before. Who's knocking there? Said Allison. It's a thief, I swear. No, no, said he. God knows, my sugar plum, my bird, my darling, it's your Absalom. I've brought a golden ring my mother gave me, fine and well cut, as I hope that God will save me. It's yours, if you will let me have a kiss. Nicholas had got up to take a piss, and thought he would improve the whole affair. This clerk, before he got away from there, should give his ass a smack, and hastily he opened the window and thrust out quietly, buttocks and haunches, all the way his bum. Up spoke this clerk, this jolly Absalom. Speak, for I don't know where you are, sweetheart. Nicholas promptly let fly a fart, as loud as if a clap of thunder broke. So great he was nearly blinded by the stroke, and ready with his hot iron to make a pass, Absalom caught him fairly on the ass. Off flew the skin, a good handbreadth of fat, lay bare the iron so scorched him where he sat. As for the pain, he thought that he would die, and like a madman he began to cry, Help, water, water, help for God's own heart. At this the carpenter came to with a start. He heard a man cry water as if mad. It's coming now, was the first thought he had. It's Noah's flood, alas, God be our hope. He sat up with his axe and chopped the rope, and down at once the whole contraption fell. He didn't take time out to buy or sell, until he hit the floor in a dead swoon. Then up jumped Nicholas and Allison, and in the street began to cry, Help, ho! The neighbors all came running, high and low, and poured into the house to see the sight. The man still lay there, passed out cold and white, for in his tumble he had broken an arm, but he himself brought on his greatest harm. For when he spoke, he was at once outdone by handy Nicholas and Allison, who told them one and all that he was mad. So great a fear of Noah's flood he had by some delusion, that in his vanity he'd bought himself these kneading troughs, all three, and hung them from the roof there up above, and he had pleaded with them for God's love to sit there in the loft for company. The neighbors laughed at such a fantasy, and round the loft began to pry and poke, and turned his whole disaster to a joke. He found it was no use to say a word. Whatever reason he offered, no one heard. With oaths and curses, people swore him down, until he passed for mad in the whole town. Wit, clerk, and student all stood by each other. They said, "It's clear the man is crazy, brother." Everyone had his laugh about this feud, so Allison, the carpenter's wife, got screwed. For all the jealous watching he could try, and Absalom he kissed her nether eye. And Nicholas got his bottom roasted well. God save this troop, that's all I have to tell. And that's the end of the Miller's Tale. I hope that you've enjoyed this bawdy jaunt through the brain of Geoffrey Chaucer. Good night, sweetheart. I love you so very much. Sleep tight. Don't let the bedbugs bite. And if they do, bite 'em back. Rawr. Good night.